Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's session. We're going to wait just about another minute here for anyone else who is going to come in, and we'll get started here in just a few moments. Thank you for being here. Awesome. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Grading with Chatbots. Welcome to this session. I just want to thank you all for being here. And thank you if you're watching this later on YouTube. It's good to have you with us. Just want to let everyone know before we get started, you'll be receiving credit for this. I'll be able to see who was either by seeing who was in the meeting or who signed up later. So that should be happening probably tomorrow once I can get into my computer and do all of that. So today we're going to be talking about grading with chatbots. I'm going to go ahead and also feel free if anybody has any questions, you can leave a comment in the chat or feel free to just open up your mic and we can make this a conversation if you have any questions. So let's go ahead and jump right in. I'm going to go over to my presentation. Now, today, this is actually I thought this was a really cool concept. There's been some recent tools that have come out, literally very, very recently, like last few weeks or so. And this is kind of an interesting idea, but it can sound a little like, okay, it can sound a little scary. So before we jump into actually how you can do this, I want to show you two different ways you can grade with AI. But before we do that, we have just a few, I guess, some basic rules, guidelines that we do want to talk about before we jump in. So my name is Josh Voiles. I would love to get your feedback. This is not mandatory. You do not need to fill this out to get credit for being in today's session. But just in case, here's a slide. If you do want to give feedback on how you thought I did today, would love to hear if you thought it was good or bad or just your feedback in general. If you guys want, I can come back to this slide at the end, but that's there just in case you need it. And so appreciate to get your feedback. So before we jump in, just a couple of reminders about AI and Magic School. We're going to be focusing a lot today on Magic School AI. So a few things, because, sometimes this topic kind of, it freaks out parents and things like that. And we don't want anyone to feel alarmed or teachers to be alarmed by what we're teaching and talking about here today. And so there are some guidelines that we want to just remind you of. So basically, we strongly recommend that you only use Magic School AI, Notebook LM, and Gemini for teacher-related tasks. And the reason why is because these are the specific ones that comply with us as a district with FERPA and COPA. And I forget the acronyms, but COPA is the Child Online Protection Act. I think that's, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. FERPA is the Family Privacy Act. So basically all of it has to do with students and their personal data and things of that nature. So That's why we're recommending only certain tools. And so that should make you as a teacher feel a lot better that we're not just going out to the Wild West here with grading with AI. There are specific things that keep it safe. And so that's why we want to give this, one of the reasons we wanted to give this training. And so the second thing is Magic School and Gemini both have specific guardrails for education, and they both have signed data privacy agreements with Midland ISD. So that's another reason why we want to just remind everybody to use only these certain tools. We also just want to remind you to continue to practice safety with all of the tools regarding personal information. So like personal student data or personal, what's the word I'm looking for? It's actually not PI, it's PII, which is personally identifiable information. So you never want to be uploading like all of the students' information into any kind of a chat with AI. And that even goes for Magic School, Notebook LM, and Gemini, even the ones that we're recommending. Just across the board, you want to practice personal information safety with all the tools that you're using. We also strongly recommend that these tools only as well, because they preserve the human element, the tools that we're talking about today, by allowing the teacher to review and be involved in the grading process. So it's not going to be just like this Wild West AI where, you know, it's just you're putting it in there and then it's giving you a grade. No, we really we want to stay in the realm of where the teacher is involved. And so that's what these tools do, is they allow you. And I'm going to be showing you how that works. Remember also that AI can hallucinate. So that's another reason that teacher involvement in the grading process is still required. Okay. I'm not going to go through all of this, but I just wanted to have this here for you in case later you want to pause the video and read this. You can also read this on the Midland ISD website, but this is just kind of some points about our AI policy and data protection. Once again, I've already talked about some of that, so I'm not going to go into detail, but this is just more in general some points on our AI policy. You never want to copy and paste or mention students' personal information, all of those things. Never upload PDFs, documents, or IEPs or other sensitive documents. Make sure that your software is up to date. Secure all of your devices and networks that you're using. And then when it comes to general queries, you use AI tools for general research rather than highly specific tasks involving student data. So we want to make all of that clear from the onset of this training. Okay, and whoops, that's just an actual slide that I wasn't supposed to show from an older. So now what I want to do is let's just jump in, okay? So like I had mentioned, we're going to be focusing a lot on Magic School and Gemini today. And like I said, I want to show you two different ways that you can use specific tools that are safe and have recently come out for teachers to use to grade. Okay, so we're focusing all of this into a healthy way that you can use AI to grade. So the first, I'm going to show you something that Magic School has literally dropped about like a week or two ago. But first, I want to show you the original way that I had planned to show you in this training. And so, but I am going to actually show you the new way that literally just came out. So the first way, me personally, and I'm sure there's lots of different tools you could use in Magic School AI, I like to use what's just called a custom chatbot. So a custom chatbot is what we're going to be looking at today. And so when you're scrolling through here on Magic School, you might be kind of like overwhelmed. Like, how could I use Magic School to help me grade, to be like a grading assistant? And so if you're anything like me, you like for things to be simple. And so even if I pick a tool here, so the tool of choice would be the custom chatbot. If you can't find that, you can just search it. Another thing you want to make for sure is that you are on Teacher Tools. So over here in the corner, hopefully you can see that. Sometimes I forget that I'm on Magic Student and I'm in the Student Tools. But remember, this is a grading assistant for you as a teacher. So you don't want to create it as a student tool. You want to create it as a teacher tool. So we're going to come back over here on the side to Teacher Tools. If you can't find it, you can literally just search custom on the search. And that's going to filter out all of these tools that you have to choose from. And there it is. I actually put a star on it. And so that's one of my favorite tools. And we're looking at custom chatbot. And it says create a custom chatbot based on any criteria that you choose. So that's what we're going to do today to start off. Okay. Now, right away, we're looking at this custom chatbot. This is the screen that you come to whenever you are basically programming the chatbot. So you're programming it yourself. You can see here there's a couple of different fields. One is called instructions for the chatbot, and one is called knowledge. It's optional, but it does help your chatbot if you have that. And so right off the bat, if you're like me, you might be looking at this thinking, okay, what do I do now? It's still a little overwhelming of like not knowing what to do. So basically what's cool is it does give you an example, which I appreciate that. Magic School gives that. It says, you are the student engagement strategist for educators who is an expert on student engagement in the classroom. Okay, but what we want is we want something specific to grading. So if you're not sure how you can fill this out, well, here's the crazy part is you can be like me. You can actually use AI to help you to basically train AI. And so what I did, and I think Marissa's probably, because Marissa's the Magic School queen. She's going to get on to me for doing this. But for some reason, I really love to use Gemini. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you over here to Gemini. And I'm going to show you what I did, because what I did was actually use Gemini AI to give me the idea or to give me the instructions to paste into the chatbot programming page. And so, but you don't have to do that. You could come over back to the beginning of Magic School and you could use Raina. Raina is kind of the teacher general AI that you can use to ask a request. So you could come in here and actually ask Raina to do the same thing. And so I know Marissa would probably say something like, everything is available in Magic School. You don't even have to leave it. And that is absolutely true. It's possible that Raina might even do a better job, but I kind of like to show Gemini just because it's what I'm used to, and it kind of helps me to grasp what I'm doing a little bit better. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to use Raina for this example. I'm just going to go back to my custom chatbot page, and then I'm going to take you over here. Whoops, you guys didn't see any of that, did you? So let me show you once again. You can just go back to the home page of Magic School, and here's Raina. So Raina is just the general AI tool that you can use to do tasks, kind of like Gemini or other tools. So let's go, but I'm going to go back. So I don't want to leave my custom chatbot page. And now let's just go over to Gemini, and I'm going to share my Gemini tab. Okay, so you can see here on this specific thread, I'm chatting with Gemini, asking it for help. So I said, and now I don't know why you might notice this, but sometimes Gemini tends to lose or momentarily erase previous chats. I asked that why that happened today, and it told me that it's just a glitch and it should be back. So I'm not able to show you some of my previous chats from before. They kind of got erased. So right here, I'm telling it, okay, well, I need that again. I need a science assignment example for the chatbot in Magic School. And so something else I forgot to mention is that for today's example, this is actually an idea that I got from some of our science teachers and our science coordinator. They wanted a grading assistant that would help with a specific assignment for grading science lab reports. And so that's how much you can actually tailor the chatbot. In my opinion, that's really cool, is you can kind of tailor it to exactly what you need based on the assignment. So I'm going to kind of go with that as today's example. So you can see here, I asked Gemini, and I'm just taking you through my chat to show you my reasoning, to show you my work. It says, no problem. Let's get that engine rebuilt. So basically, it gave me this whole thing, and what it actually gave me was kind of like a I think is basically like an assignment example. And I realized that I wasn't specific enough with my prompt. So I said, oh, okay, actually, I need instructions for a custom chatbot in Magic School AI. I need it to grade high school student lab reports. Okay. Now notice here, I am still being kind of vague and general, and that's on purpose because I want to see what I can get out of this. And I like to technically, traditionally, I like to kind of tweak as I go while I'm chatting with it. So it says setting up custom chatbot and Magic School AI to grade lab reports is a power move for teachers. And so this is what it gave me. And I thought this wasn't perfect, but it was a really cool starting point. So it gave me like phase 1, the setup, phase 2, the instructions. And it says, you know, your goal is to analyze student lab reports. And it says you are a veteran high school teacher with expertise. So it gives the whole persona, all of that. Phase 3, the knowledge, which is the rubric. So that's a pretty good starting point, in my opinion. So you can see here, what I did was I continued the chat. I said, okay, well, Magic School AI's custom chatbot tool has the upload button for rubrics and examples. And I have all of those as PDFs, so that's good. But it only has certain fields to paste into. So I'll need you to conform to that. Here's a screenshot. And what I actually did was I came over to my chatbot page and I took a screenshot of this so that Gemini actually could see what I was looking at. And then I went back to Gemini and I uploaded that as a screenshot with my question or with my prompt. And it says, this is perfect. Seeing the exact interface makes it much easier. So now it's got everything exactly the way it lines up in the on the chatbot creation page in Magic School. I said, okay, great. Can you put everything into major sections for each field? And you might realize, you know, sometimes you're still kind of fighting with the chat to get it to do what you want. I said, okay, now sometimes I don't have teaks as a separate document, but I only have text to paste in. So can you add one more place in the directions that provide a place to paste in teaks? Also, can you make sure the directions mentioned to tell the chatbot to make sure not to give away answers, make sure to not be lenient, and to be scientifically accurate. So once again, I'm tailoring these directions specifically for the assignment at hand. And that's what I kind of want to show you all today, is that you can kind of do it that way. The better you are with whatever you give the tool to create, the more specific you are, the better of a chatbot, the better of a grading assistant it's going to generate. He says, this is a great catch, adding a dedicated target teak section directly into the instructions. So it gives me all of that again. It's basically revising this as I'm going. And says, and then I said, okay, now can you make this into a doc? And I was being silly and I forgot that you can actually go right here to these dots and you can say export to docs. Hopefully everyone can see that. So I exported this to a doc, and this is basically what it looks like right here. Okay, so I kind of put this at the top just so I would know what it was, and I put a photo in there, but everything else is what Gemini gave me. And so this is pretty good. Now you might be looking at this and already saying, okay, now I have an idea of what I can do. And so basically it starts off with role and persona. You are a senior science grading consultant. Your goal is to provide teachers with highly accurate, objective evaluation of student lab reports. You are an expert in identifying whether student evidence meets the rigor of Texas or the TEKS. You will use documents, and you might even have another document about the scientific method or something of an example of whatever assignment you're doing to guide the chatbot as well. So there's this teacher customization zone where I can put in the name of the lab, the TEKS, and then secondary TEKS if I want to. There's a standard operating procedure, contextual analysis, review the knowledge, the rubric and the template, read the student's input, check the student's data against the lab topic. If the data seems scientifically impossible for this lab, flag it for the teacher as a possible error. Required grading output format for the teacher. There's the summary, There's TEKS alignment check. There's a header alert, and I thought that was kind of neat. Teacher comment draft. Okay, there's a part where you can, where the teacher will be able to put a glow and a grow. And then there's the strict guardrails, which is kind of what I gave it at the end there. It says, do not be lenient. If the rubric says detailed evidence and the student wrote one word, score it as developing. Focus on scientific accuracy. If the science is wrong, the score must reflect that, even if the writing is good. So we're kind of, this is probably even more basic than what you might do if you're kind of getting ideas of what you can do to program. But this is just kind of a starting point as an example for me. Then it's got field 2. Now, if you remember on that page, there's 2 places, and the second field is knowledge. This was the optional field, but I still like to have this. This is where I would probably be pasting in TEKS. And the teachers, it says the teachers will upload their specific PDF and Word files here. And then basically I pasted in these TEKS. These are just example TEKS that I got, like for an assignment about Newton's law of motion. And basically, we're going to use that lab report to kind of do this example assignment about like asteroids hitting the Earth. Okay, so what I did was I went ahead and grabbed TEKS that have to do with that. And so what you might have to do is go and search for those TEKS, but you can paste them in. And the good part is now that we have gave the instructions to allow the teacher us as teachers to be able to paste those in. And so I think this is pretty solid. It might not be perfect, but that is kind of what I'm going to go ahead and go with to show you as the instruction, as the example for today. So now what I want to do is I want to switch over to another tab. Okay, now this is what our science coordinator, what she gave me and her teachers, and this is the MISD Science Lab report format. And so what it does is it starts with basically this is what they would give the students, or what could be used to give students, and it goes through these different things. There's the problem. The problem is in the written form of a question: how, what, why. Be sure to include the dependent and independent variables. And it's got a hypothesis. This is an educated prediction in written form of a statement that may start with if and then. It should attempt to answer the problem above, including your independent and dependent variables. Materials: in this section, you will list with bullet points the materials you need to carry out your specific experiment. So basically, the students are following this as their format for their lab report. And then at the end is a conclusion. So it going through the whole scientific method of whatever experiment is being done. So that was cool that she provided that to me, because I could go ahead and give that to the chatbot. And you're going to see me do that here in just a second. And this is the second document she provided me with, which was the MISD lab report rubric. So it's got problem, hypothesis, data, conclusion, grammar, spelling. It covers everything, very solid. And it's got, the 4 different domains from beginning all the way to exemplary. So these are the artifacts, or not artifacts, but these are the things that I can use to plug into my chatbot. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just come back here to what Gemini generated. Okay, and I'm literally going to just copy and paste this in. So Command C. Let's come back over here to our Magic School. And this is the instructions field. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to come over here to my TEKS that I grabbed from the web, and go ahead and copy those. And then I'm going to paste that in to my Magic School. And so here's the teacher custom. The only thing is that it kind of bleeds everything together, and I have to end up kind of spacing it out again. But here I believe is where I would put my TEKS. So I'm just gonna, so we're just kind of programming this here as we go. So I pasted in my TEKS. We've got all of the stuff for the directions, the instructions for the chatbot. And then under knowledge, I've got my teaks again here. I guess since I've already put those in, I don't have to. But this is basically what you could actually paste in teaks here, or you could actually, if you have other things that are optional knowledge, that is a good place. Now, you can see on both of these fields, I have places where I can upload a file. So that's where I'm going to actually upload. It can be a rubric that you create. It can be a rubric that came from the coordinator, all different kinds. It doesn't even have to just be rubrics. You can add files. Like I said, if it's a file about like your specific assignment, anything that is going to help the chatbot. So, but for this example, I'm going to go ahead and upload those files. And so I've got my MISD lab report and my MISD rubric. And sadly, I don't know why you guys are not able to see this window, but I'm browsing my computer right now. And I'm going to go ahead and upload. Okay, so I think you can see there it's uploading those. I've got the lab report, and that's a PDF. And then I've got the rubric, which is a PDF. Okay, and I've got my teaks. Okay, and I think that's everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and generate. Now, this might take a while to generate. So what I'm going to do now is, in the meantime, I'm going to show you what I'm going to go back to Gemini. Okay, and then what I did is, like I said, unfortunately, my chats got erased. But what I did is I kept chatting with Gemini, and I said, okay, let's test this chatbot out. I want you to create 2 example students, because, you know, I'm not a teacher, and so I don't actually have real students. I'm not in the classroom anymore like you guys. But so what I did to test out the chatbot in Magic School was I had it create 2 student examples using those. So what it did was it actually gave me some pretty interesting results. So I'm going to share my tab here. So what I did was I exported this example student like it was a pretend student from Gemini, and I created a couple of more docs. So you can see here what it did was it created a fake student. Her name is Sarah. And what she did was a crater impact velocity lab report. The problem was, how does the height from which a marble is dropped, independent variable, affect the diameter of the crater it creates in a tray of flour, which is the dependent variable? That's the question. So she's a really good student. She's giving a hypothesis, talking about kinetic energy. She's listed all of the materials she used. As you can see, she's following the lab report template very well. She gives her experimental procedure. She fills a tray with flour. She has a metering stick, all this cool stuff for the experiment. And then she lists out her data observations, you know, dropping the marble from different distances. Okay, really cool. And then the conclusion. So this was a pretty exemplary lab report. Now I'm going to show you the second lab report that I had Gemini generate, which was actually an example of a student who didn't do so good. And this lab report is called Space Holes. So the topic was space holes. The fake student, his name is Tyler. Lab partner was left blank. That sounds about right. If you're a teacher, you know that happens all the time. So maybe this is an example of a student who was paired up with someone originally and they didn't get along, and they split ways. And so now the student is doing everything last minute. So you can see here, they didn't follow the lab report very well. Problem, do bigger drops make bigger holes with misspellings? Okay, so this is pretty funny. The data is literally not even complete. And the conclusion, the science is bad in the conclusion. It says, my hypothesis was right. I learned that if you drop stuff in flour, it makes a hole because the flour is soft and the marble is hard. Okay, so this is it's kind of funny, but I just wanted to do this to get it to test out the our Magic School chatbot, our grading assistant, to see if it's going to do a good job. So let's go back. This is what I have. It says, I am a senior science grading consultant designed to provide teachers with highly accurate, objective evaluations of student lab reports. My expertise, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm using the TEKS, specifically focus. Okay, he's basically saying I will provide a glow and a grow, and I have all of the information that you've given me. So now we've got our custom chatbot, our grading assistant. And so now what I want to do is I just want to test it out. Say, okay, here are some students. Can you evaluate and help me grade them? Okay, so I'm asking it my first prompt. I've got my upload paperclip here. So I'm just going to go ahead and upload those files. Okay, I've got the first student, and once again, sadly, I don't think you're able to see that page for some reason, but I'm going to go ahead and upload both of those two students at the same time, both the exemplary and the not so good student. Okay, now if you notice, it's actually allowing me to upload multiple. So I'm going to be honest, I have not tested this to see how many you can upload at one time. You can try that on your own, but the cool part is that you don't have to do one at a time. The last time I gave a training on this in person, it looked like it was going to allow us to do like 20, 30 at a time. Once again, I just want you to remember you might have to just test that on your own. Now, right off the bat, you can see there are some kind of downsides of using the chatbot to help you grade this way, because what it's going to do is it's going to grade, it's going to help you grade, but it's going to do it all in one single scroll. Like you have to scroll through every student. You may not like that. At least you're not having to do it one at a time. So in my opinion, this is a huge time saver to have this chatbot as a grading assistant. Okay, let's just see how it did first. Okay, so here's the Tyler lab report. It says basically the suggested score for each part. The problem was not in the proper question form, lacks clear independent variables. It looks like it's picking up everything pretty good. Basic steps presented but unclear, not repeatable, and the materials were incomplete. Gives a 6 out of 10 for that. Incomplete data table. You remember the data was pretty much completely missing except for like one row. So it gives an 8 out of 20. So it looks like it's doing pretty good. The grammar was not good, multiple spelling errors, and it actually lists those spelling errors, which is really cool in my opinion. It's listing those for me without me having to go and look. Flower, bigger, conclusion, so it's giving all of that. Basic format followed, but messy presentation, incomplete sections. Then it aligns it to the TEKS. It checks that out. It says does not meet the TEKS standards. No force calculations or Newton's law discussion. Minimal connection to celestial bodies. There's the missing header alert. Okay, so it gives me the glow and the grow, which I think is really cool. It says, Tyler, you demonstrated curiosity about how height affects impacts and made connections to real world space phenomena. But to improve your scientific reasoning, number one, focus on your writing. Number two, creating a hypothesis. You actually need a hypothesis with an explanation, and include complete data. So it looks like it's picking up very well. Here's the second student, Sarah Miller. And you can see here, basically gives her a really good, it gives her a 92 out of 100. That's exactly what I expected, because I created that student to be almost perfect. Okay, gives me the glow and the grow. So that's basically what it's going to be like if you use the custom chatbot to grade. And so right off the bat, you're probably seeing, there's some pros and cons to this, but overall, I think I ended up with a really good grading assistant. And honestly, this really can help you save time. Now, when the students turn in their labs or their assignments in general, whatever it is you're going to have them do, you will need those downloaded on your computer to be able to upload them as an attachment. So once again, there still does need to be some teacher involvement in this process. Okay, so that is the first way. Okay, the second way that I want to show you. Let's just go back to Magic School homepage. Okay. All right. Can everyone see that? Okay. So here's the second form of basically using AI to help grade. Okay. This literally came out, I think, was it like last week? Was it earlier this week? Marissa, you might remember. But this is like brand new, like literally brand new. Magic School just came out with this. It's a new tab over here on the side called Class Writing Feedback. Okay. So let's just click into Class Writing Feedback. If you go to your Magic School, you're more than likely going to see a banner atop of the cross that's advertising this brand new tool. Okay, so Class Writing Feedback. Now, I'm just going to preface this by saying this does probably work better with writing assignments. That's, I think, really what it's designed for. However, I did use this, I tested this out before the training to see if it would actually grade the science lab reports. And in my opinion, it did a pretty darn good job. So here's what the page looks like. You can click on this purple button or this down here that says create an assignment. So we can create an assignment here. Now, this is a little bit different than a chatbot. You're not really programming a chatbot, but it's going to kind of work similarly. You can see there's a name, so we could just basically say this is science lab report assignment. Okay, just as an example. I'm going to go ahead and leave this as 8th grade because this is basically, high school science. And then right here, I've got my assignment description. So once again, it's not exactly the way it was for doing the chatbot. I'm not really programming a chatbot in this instance. So what I'm going to do, but I'm just going to go ahead and give it all of it. Okay. And I'm going to paste that in. Okay. Here is, I have another upload, so I can upload my same, my lab report and my rubric again. Okay. Now, what's cool about this class writing feedback, in my opinion, is that if you don't have a rubric, you can actually create a rubric. Okay. And and I can see where it actually only allows one files to be uploaded into this. And that's probably because this is basically made for just the assignment.
Josh, we're still seeing your Word document or your Google Doc.
Thank you so much, Sherry. Okay, hopefully you can see that now. So once again, like I was saying, now that you can see it, it only allows you to add one file, okay? And that's because this is really made for an assignment, like a single assignment. And so, or to take in just basically one piece. But the cool part is that here, I can just use this to have my lab report. And there's a specific button in this class writing tool specifically for rubrics. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click Add Rubric. That's going to take me to another page up at the top. I can create a rubric, I can upload a rubric, or I can browse rubrics that I've already created. So, and to me, that's really cool too. So I could upload my rubric from here, the one that I had already, or I could just create one. Let's go ahead and see if I add that file. Here's my lab report rubric PDF. Okay. And so what you're going to see is that what it does is it basically takes a rubric, but you still have to click generate. So it's basically what it's doing is kind of creating a new one anyway. I'm not exactly sure why it does that, but I think it kind of does make sense because we're not just giving it a rubric to grade off of and reference, we're actually programming a rubric into it.
And it is the exact same rubric that you upload.
Exactly. Yes. It's kind of just formatting it for its own purposes. And the cool part is you can still come in here and edit. So on any of these, I can edit. Literally, there's a pencil icon that appears on anything. So I can come and change any of the criteria. I can change the the different levels. But I'm just going to go ahead and leave it as that and click save. Okay, so hopefully you can kind of get some ideas once again of what you can do. So basically here I've got my lab report PDF attached. I've got my lab report rubric, and down here at the bottom I have feedback options, and I can uncheck or check these. I think I really want to go ahead and have all of these. It's going to give me glows and grows, next steps, and a score breakdown. That score breakdown to me is the most important. And then actually right here is where I can, I'm not going to actually create or generate anything and then chat with it to help me grade. I actually can load my student submissions right here all together. So right here, you see this button that says connect to Google Drive. This is really cool. So here I've got all of my students' assignments. Now, if you're assigning this like on Google Classroom, you'll more than likely have a folder where you can navigate to in your Google Drive that's going to have all of those submissions anyway. So that's a really cool part. You might just have to figure out, go searching through your Google Drive. In my case, I'm just going to use my recent tab because that's where they are, and I can actually select multiple at the same time. See how I can do that? But basically all I need is the space holes and then this need for speed. Those are the two ones that I have, and I'm going to select those. Those are my two students, my fake students. Okay, so now those are uploading. You can upload as many as you want, and I think I accidentally uploaded one of them, so I'm just going to remove that submission. Whoops, I don't know why it grabbed all of those. Okay, I grabbed two of them by accident. So if that happens, you can just delete them. So here it's got, and then I can start the assessment. So I've uploaded my students, and now I'm going to actually run the assessment. So like I had said earlier, you can see this is working a little bit different than programming a chatbot to chat with to help you grade. This is more like focused in for assignments. But it is going to help you grade. So you might see some pros and cons. You might want to try both ways just to see what works best for you. So it shows me the status. It's that it needs approval and that it's processing. What I can do is actually come in here, I believe, and click on Sarah. Whoops, let's go to processing. Okay, now here, this page is so cool in my opinion. It shows me the student, right? And I actually clicked on the last student in my list. So what I can do is click the arrow, and you'll notice what this does is it's actually letting you shuttle from student to student instead of having to go back through that list and click one at a time. Kind of like in Google Classroom and other learning management systems where you can kind of click through each student as you grade. That's what Magic School is allowing us to do now. So here I've got my the student that didn't have a very good lab report. It's got the glows, it's got the grows. Okay, I can click down here through next steps. So this is giving me all, and I can come in here and edit this. This is already giving me feedback that I can give the student. I can edit this, make it more simple if I think my student is not going to read all of that, or I can add something that I think is important. What I really love here, and this is still generating, I think, oh no, I mean, I can look at it, is the score breakdown. Okay, yes, says feedback is being generated. So let's just wait for a second here. I really want you to see that. But then once you go through all of that, you'll be able to see here on the top, you can actually click share to student. And that is, okay, scoring is complete. So check this out. Let's look at the score breakdown. 17 out of 32 points. So that's the score that it gave the student. Once again, I'm able to come in here and edit any part. And what I love is that it breaks down each part piece by piece, the problem, the hypothesis, the data, the conclusion of the student. It's giving all of those and breaking those into smaller points. I can actually come in here. If I think that it graded it wrong, I can change the points and award more points for that. And then I can come in and change. I can update the feedback as well. But that's how powerful this tool is, in my opinion. And then when I'm done, I can click approve and then share to student. and I'm going to go ahead and share everything, the glows, the grows, the scores, everything. I'm going to share all of that. But the cool part is I can toggle those switches and choose which ones I want. So now if I come back over here to the lab report of the student, here's the Space Holes lab report. You can see at the top, it added all of that to the student's document. Okay, so that's really cool in my opinion. It actually gives it to the student right back in their document. It's got the grows, the glows, next steps, and it's explaining to the student why we graded the way we did. So in my opinion, that's really cool. If anyone likes that, just give a thumb up. I think that's really cool. Okay, so guys, we're right at 4:40. I'm sorry I went so long. We only have really like a whole minute left. Thanks, Marissa. I have 1 minute left. If anybody has any questions or comments. You can also view your rubric here, but those are the two ways that I think two very powerful ways that you can use artificial intelligence with these really awesome tools to help you grade, your students. Well, with that being said, I just want to thank everyone for joining me today. I'm going to go ahead and stop this recording. If anyone wants to, you can feel free to stick around and ask questions. And I just want to thank everyone for being here. And also if you're watching on YouTube, and we will see you next time.